I lift my eyes to the mountains. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. He will not let your foot slip. He who watches over you will not slumber. Indeed, he who watches over Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord watches over you. The Lord is your shade at your right hand. The sun will not harm you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will keep you from all harm. He will watch over your life. The Lord will watch over your coming and going, both now and forevermore. Isn't that a beautiful little psalm? It's a psalm of confident trust in God. Just confident trust in God. Psalm 121. And what I'd like to do is just raise 4 questions. But the first question will be this: so what kind of protection does God offer on this journey? This psalm says he's going to protect us. He's got us. So what kind of protection are we talking about here? 5 times in 8 verses, it says he watches over you. That's profound. Like 5 times in 8 verses, I'm watching over you. I'm watching over you. 1 time, it says, I'll keep you from the womb to the tomb. He's got his eye on you. He does. Psalm 139, you remember what that says? Your eyes, God, saw my unformed body. And by the way, from the time of conception, he talks about me and my, like he's a real person. The second question is, so what does the psalm call us to do? Here's what it calls us to do. It calls us to ask for help. Ask for help if you need it. Look at verses 1 and 2. I lift up my eyes to the mountains. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. Where is it that you actually need help today? Well, this man says, I need help, and I'm lifting up my eyes to the mountains. And then this great question, so where does my help come from? Where does your help come from? I was in Canmore this week, and there was a beautiful sunny day. And I got up and I looked at the mountains, and I was in awe. And immediately, my thoughts went to the Creator, the one that made them. I think he's doing that. Where does my help come from? Look at the mountains. My help comes from the very one that with a word created all this stuff. That's where my help comes from. So how do I use this psalm? That would be the third question. So how do I use this psalm? This psalm is what's known as a confessional psalm. A confessional psalm. Confessional psalm is a psalm that you recite. A confession is something you recite till it's deep in your DNA and it's part of you. The Apostles' Creed. In fact, one of the lines of the Apostles' Creed comes out of this psalm, the maker of heaven and earth. The Lord's Prayer, another one. All of these, Nicene Creed, all these great creeds and prayers, you're meant to recite them until they become so much a part of you that it's just automatic, your response to the stuff of life. So this is a psalm that's to be memorized, is to be repeated. I need to repeat this because I forget who I am. Regularly, I forget who I am. And I think he's forgotten who I am. You know, this psalm says God knows you. That's way bigger than you knowing God. Fourth question could be, doesn't the psalm promise too much? Doesn't it promise? I mean, seriously, think about it. Won't let your foot slip. No harm will come to you. Is that true in your life? What do you do with that? You always take a step back from the text for a minute. You go, one wonders, because in my life and the life of a lot of biblical characters, there's a lot of things that have happened that I would describe as harm and slipping feet. So is this thing promising too much? I do it this way. I say to myself, you know what? Joseph said at the end of his life, you meant all these things for evil, but God meant them for good. God turned all the broken pieces and heartaches of my life and he wove it together for good and he accomplished his purpose in my life. And I look at Jesus and say, when you have eternal life, it must go right through clinical death and out the other side.